Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Rose Gold Empathy, and welcome back to the Roses with Empathy podcast. So, today is our second episode of the second season of the Roses with Empathy podcast, and today we are going to talk about exposure, engagement, accountability, choices, autonomy, independence, everything like that. And I think this is a really deep and thought-provoking topic, and I'm really excited to share my insight and perspective with y'all. But before we get started, if you don't mind, please follow me on Instagram at _RoseGoldEmpathy. So this is my official social media page, really, my official page where all of my other outlets like YouTube, SoundCloud, and Amazon are all linked. And also my official website link is in my bio. So you don't want to miss out on any updates or any notifications from me. You can follow me on Instagram at _RoseGoldEmpathy. Yeah, so lately I've been watching a lot of interviews, and I'm constantly finding myself captivated by sort of just experiencing a snapshot of the lives of others. And I mean all type of interviews, but especially rapper and gang interviews. And I mean, first, it's really so amazing how much these rappers will incriminate themselves in front of a live audience. It's insane. And these videos be having millions and millions of views, millions. So there's definitely demand for this kind of stuff. But that's a minor observation. What I really been picking up on is the sort of divide between the different types of quote unquote street niggas or quote unquote hood niggas or quote unquote real niggas, what have you. You know, everything that sort of the younger generation and older generation has been propagating for the last, I'd say 40, 50 years. When it comes to street credibility and that being held up at such a high standard, and a lot of kids feeling like their rite of passage is to do things that they wouldn't normally do without certain influences. And it's just really interesting. And it seems that the one thing that really persists pattern wise is this sort of idea that exposure to something guarantees your committed engagement with it. So let me explain. So I was watching this really interesting Middle Ground episode on YouTube, and if you don't know, Middle Ground is a web series / channel that hosts safe spaces really for entities of opposing views to really just settle their differences. So for example, Bloods and Crips, right? So this episode was all about gang life, and it asked a lot of different questions to some LA Bloods and some LA Crips, whether Bloods and Crips could cohabitate peacefully, whether they ever saw someone get stripped or killed, and you feel me, most importantly, in my opinion, whether banging was a choice or not. So in this episode, I'm really going to be referring to some of the interesting points I heard from each side when I talk about what it means to have a choice or to have autonomy or to be autonomous. And I'm also going to explain why I think it's wrong actually to believe that mere exposure to something guarantees committed engagement with it, aka why just because you were born into a gang doesn't always necessarily mean you have to bang your whole life. And this is a bit controversial because I'm not from the hood and I don't bang, but nevertheless I have my own thoughts on the whole situation. I'm ready to share them because again, I have had certain exposure, so I have picked up on certain things. But before we dive all into that, let's take a quick break and come back empathetic and ready to learn. I know it's hard, tear you apart. I know it's hard, baby, tear you apart, baby. This be a war, baby, but you done come so far. I know. I hear you screaming, know what you needin'. I hope that you eatin'. Baby, you so strong, you still breathing. I know. My life is like a pool, I'm in the deep end. Know they lurking, plotting, really creeping. All right, y'all, welcome back. So the song you was just listening to is called It's Hard Interlude, and it's off my official 777 mixtape that I just dropped on SoundCloud. So I really wanted to offer a space of sort of relatability and comfort with this song because, the message is basically like, I know it's hard, like, life, everything is hard, and I know you feel like giving up because your circumstances seem so grim, but you hella bomb and you gonna make it if you really want to, you feel me? So with this message, it's like the delivery is different though. Like I usually rap, so maybe some listeners were sort of surprised by like my angelic voice. But if you like what you heard, be sure to check me out on SoundCloud at Rose Gold Empathy. So 777 is out there right now and it's soon to be on all streaming platforms. So thank you so much for your support. Rose Gold. All right, y'all. So before we went on break, I said I wanted to focus on this sort of idea that being exposed to something means you automatically have to like have a committed engagement with it, right? So I use the example of sort of gang banging because I just so happened to watch that Middle Ground episode. But before I talk about the episode more in detail, I want to look at sort of the original claim in a more general context and not so much on gangbanging. So this season is really, like, as I said last episode, all about our relationship with ourselves. So last episode, we looked at mental slavery and how we may be able to break free from our own bondage. This episode, though, I really want to look at sort of what it means to have autonomy or the ability to sort of make choices freely, independently, and on your own volition or as you want, So I think like off rip, a lot of people are born in trauma. And in a way, trauma is just like a gang. Like literally the way it comes into your life is traumatic as hell. Your flashbacks of it be always pulling you in to focus on them and nothing else productive for real. And you just can't seem to see your life without that trauma. And, as a healed, successful light being, whatever success means to you. So like your whole personal identity sort of becomes founded on and grounded by or grounded in your affiliation with your trauma, just like a gang. And like I said, I'm not from the hood. But at the same time, like I am from the Bay Area. And so I'm from Vallejo. So I've seen a lot of like sort of life or death, crazy traumatizing, sticky situations just because of the people I know and the places that I chose to be in. Right. So I think I've seen a lot more dark in this life on earth than a lot of people my age, actually. And I'm not even from like my upbringing wasn't in that, but like I said, we're talking all about choices today. And so like because of my exposure to certain things, like I did see a lot, but like here comes the sort of part that we're sort of hinting at about whether my engagement with it was continued as a result of the exposure or not. And that's the real question. So, I just feel like when I make a statement like the one I made earlier, it's not a diss at all. Gangs have their role in society, sometimes good, sometimes bad. All gangs ain't trying to keep peace and protect our people. That's just facts. And a lot of gangs right now that's getting attention be just like little kids off of real drugs though. And I don't mean weed, like I mean like Percocets, I mean like Xanax, I mean Molly, and everybody sipping mud, everybody sipping juice, popping beans and all that. So the babies are not in their right mind and they just be ready to drill anybody like for $200-$300. And so honestly, a lot of these like Bay and Sac shootings don't even be gang related no more. Like they do, but like it'd be individual beef because a kid wants to get some clout for stealing somebody's chain. Like, and this is stuff I can't make up. Like you could see this in the media. Like we see this all the time with famous rappers getting killed over clout chasing like tactics. So at the same time though, there are a lot of like gangs that I have seen in these interviews and have seen like individual members like in passing doing things that are super like beneficial and productive for the Black community and society in general. Like there are a lot of gangs that still try and uphold good moral values, like having school backpacks backpack giveaways and feeding the homeless and keeping rapists out of people's bedrooms, calling people out, protecting the little kids, not encouraging them to join a set or nothing like that. I see a lot of that, and the media doesn't show that because they have this sort of view that all gang members are sort of this sort of terrorist group, when in actuality, like, you know, we always hear the story that gangs started to sort of keep the streets in line because the cops weren't doing their job. You know what I'm saying? They still aren't. So whether that sort of aim and vision for gang life is the same in every single borough or city or providence, like, no, you know, it's not. But there are gangs that do have those ideals, and they shouldn't be overshadowed by the negative stuff that, you know, these newer gangs and cliques really are doing. And I've seen that sort of a lot of times it's heartwarming, really, because I don't ever see any sort of quote unquote, and I'm using quotes because this is how y'all identify yourselves. I don't see any hood niggas or hood women or hood, you know, anything as some sort of statistic off rip when I meet them. I don't see them as anyone that needs to be demonized because I don't know anything about them. I just look to them with an open heart and soul. But it's just so happened to be that sometimes, because of like the way that the nature of gang life has changed, being around those type of people, the energy is not, it doesn't go with my energy, so I can't be around that kind of energy. It opens the door to things that I don't want to be involved in. So that's the reason why I would say I can talk about this, like, because, you know, like, we are all humans and we interact with each other and we can see these things, and it shouldn't be that just the people that are in something are the only people that can talk about it, because we all are witnessing it and we all have been affected by what the gangs have done in some way or another. Like, babies are getting shot randomly every night. Like, little girls are getting raped every night. Like, so I just had to make that huge, long disclaimer before I complete this discussion. So, yeah. That being said, let's go back to the trauma example. So just like exposure to trauma can sort of make you feel like you can't escape it, I feel like being in a gang may make you feel that same way. And, you know, even the phrase like, oh, I can't lead this, it's in me, that can either you'll see some like rappers say that in a positive way about they set or they gang, or in a negative way, like, oh, I can't lead this, like, I'm not gonna make it out, or like, oh yeah, I can never leave this is in me, like, I'm real hard body. Like, it's even that, it's sort of, you can see the difference. Like, and I know I'm not making this up, like, y'all see this, right? And but at the same time, like, when we look at sort of the case of trauma or really anything in life, I feel like humans are distinct from animals for mainly one reason, and it's their autonomy. And it's our ability to sort of make our own choices freely and independently. Now, not everyone agree that we are in fact autonomous. Some philosophers believe that actually God, or, you know, people believe in other things, like some other deity is controlling our every move and sort of plans it out ahead of time. So really, we're not free at all. But for me, I believe that we do have autonomy and even free will for reasons that I won't explain right now. But anyways, I think that we are, at the end of the day, able to make choices. If nothing else, we are able to make choices. They may not always be the choice we want, but it's still a choice. Now, this part gets even deeper, because what is a choice itself? Like, we really have like to analyze this. So we have the ability to make a choice. We have the ability to make one, but what is it? And at what point is a choice considered, like, I don't know, subjugation or being forced into doing something? You feel me? Well, all the dictionary entries I read really all pose the same definition. Basically, like, a choice is either an act or the possibility of the act of choosing something, or it's the sort of range of things from which you can make a choice from, make a selection from. So to make a choice, so it's to choose, or to have like a range of options to be chosen from, and all of these things, right? But what does it mean to choose? To select from a range of choices, right? Nice. So that was sort of an all over the place definitions of choice and choosing, and I think these are already intuitive to us, but just to tease them out before we continue, because like I said, whenever we try to make an argument, we got to have, ourselves armed and ready. So let's take it a step further. Like, let's quickly look at the etymology or the origin of the word choice. So when I was looking at Webster and all the other dictionaries, they all were talking about like the act of choosing or the range of things from which you can make a choice.